All right, everybody, welcome to take two of the Locked On Avalanche podcast. On today's episode, we got a couple days off. So what Kyle and I are going to do is this is going to be all players that could potentially get traded and what that means for the Avalanche. Could they be coming to Denver? Would they fit with the Avs? What's their cap situation like? We're not going to come up with mock trades or anything like that, and we'll kind of explain why. But we kind of just wanted to take a look at who is out there and would they fit in with this Avalanche team and make a solid run for the Cup. So get ready because this is our trade show. All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and for today, we're going to be talking about potential trades, not mock trades, but some names that you're hearing that could be on the move. And do any of these guys fit in with the Avs? Does the cap situation work? And kind of just going down the road of the Avalanche going to make a move. But before we get to any of that, first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow the show on our YouTube channel over on the YouTube. Hit subscribe and get notified whenever a new show goes live. So, yeah, Kyle, for me, this is kind of an exciting trade season because the Avs typically are not big buyers at the trade deadline. They are buyers, but like last year, they made some depth moves that didn't pan out. And I feel like this year is the year that they go big. They know that they need to bring in a big name, not because they're struggling, because what they've done in the past couple of years, they've realized hasn't worked. So something needs to change, and maybe that is make a bigger move.
And you get that feeling with Joe Sakic when he addressed the team coming back from the All-Star break and kind of his state of the team address. Like, he knows the value of this team, and he knows the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And if we're complaining about not getting past the second round, doing what we do with the trade deadline, it feels like with this talent, with this team, and what we need to do, and who's out there at the trade deadline, this is the year you need to make a move.
Yeah. So, and again, we're not likely, if the Avs get any of these guys that we're going to bring up, it's likely only one of them. It's not like they're going to bring in a completely new line of trade acquisitions, but I would think one of these guys is very likely. And then maybe some other depth moves, not including these guys. And we won't talk about Claude Giroux because we have talked about him in a recent episode a couple days ago. So if you want to go listen to that, go find that episode. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday of this week, but
I believe it was.
It's in the show notes. But and he we talked about him as a whole segment because he likely is a front runner to come here. But what we will do at the end also is we will talk about the players that we're mentioning, who we personally most want to come over, and who we also think likely will come over. So two different things: a personal guess, and then one who we think like most likely of these guys will come. So, and we are not doing these in any particular order. It's just who's up on my screen, and we're just going to go one at a time. And why not start kind of, a little bit out west, further west in California with the San Jose Sharks and Tomas Hertl. He seems to, seems to be one of those guys that maybe is on the market. I don't really think he is as much as people want him to be. I think he wants to stay. I think San Jose wants to sign him. It's just one of those things where they haven't come to terms to a deal yet. So what do? Do they move him and then say, hey, we'll continue to deal with you because his contract is up? We'll deal with you when the season is over and we'll get something for you. And then if we can return you, then we've double dipped and we've re-signed you and we've gotten some acquisition in the process. Or do they not want to risk that and just have him play out the rest of the year and then go into the offseason and hopefully sign him before free agency? It's interesting what they're going to do with Hertl right now.
Yeah, and Hertl is one of those players, like the fan base loves him. It almost feels like one of those Joe Thornton, Ray Bork kind of things. Like, you couldn't do it here, go do it somewhere. And they want you to kind of go out and then come back with a cup. But this whole Hertl move, it feels like Donskoy 2.0. We know what fan favorites from San Jose look like. And 38 points on the year. Is that really what you want to trade for when it comes to a rental? Is that really worth like making that risk and making that move and shipping out talent for 38 points?
And it all depends on what is going out. And again, like we're not going to make mock trades or anything like that, because for the Avalanche, it's likely going to be somebody like JT Compher, Tyson Jost, draft picks, and then, prospects. And the prospects could be Justin Barron, Drew Hellison, listen, nobody's getting Newhook.
Yeah.
So throw him off the board. Nobody's getting Newhook. He's not involved in any of these deals. But I think the current players on the Avalanche are probably going to be Jost and or JT Compher.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. So that's my thing with all of these potential deals that the Avalanche make. If you're giving up those two guys, yeah, for a rental, is it better? Right now, I would say, yeah, it is for the long run. And Hertl might be one of those guys that goes right back to San Jose if the money is good. And we're talking about that with Giroux as well. He's going to be a rental. Does he come to the Avalanche? If he wins a cup, does he go right back to Philly? Said, hey, I left, played for another team for half a season, won a cup. I'm going to get my name engraved on that forever, and then go back to where my home is and where I love. You could kind of see that happening with Hertl as well.
Yeah, and Hertl's got that feel like, if we're talking Hertl, something crazy has happened with Giroux and a bunch of these other names on the list. So talking ourselves into Hertl at that point, you might have a case. But right off the bat, let's not talk about it.
Yeah. And his cap number's okay, 5.625. The Avs can work with that.
Yeah.
They can definitely work with that. All right. Next up, what we got here? We'll do this is your guy. I'm not hearing that Shea Theodore is really on the market. Does it make sense that he could be? Look, Vegas needs to move salary, but I don't think they have to. I think they figured it out for this year because, their whole LTIR situation with Mark Stone. I don't think they really need to move him this year. And he's got, after this year, 3 more years on that contract at 5.2. Why are you so big on Theodore and him being moved and potentially to the Avalanche, which I don't think Vegas would ever trade anybody to the Avalanche, but go ahead.
There are a lot of days between here and trade deadline. And you saw what Vegas can potentially do if they had solid goaltending back there. And do you really feel like after the showing the Avalanche had against Vegas, that's the same output you're going to get from the goalie position? They know they have to address that now because Leonard's out for a while. And what better way to do that than do a 3-team trade possibly? Like, take care of some of your cap problems, because Shea Theodore is carrying a 5.2 cap hit right now. Like, boy, that sure could get you a goalie or 2 on the cheap.
Could.
And
it could.
And fans in Vegas, like, they like Theodore, would like to see a little bit more out of Theodore. A goal-scoring defenseman for the Avalanche with some veteran leadership. Boy, that sounds great.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I wonder if they would even need him. They don't need, defensive scoring defensemen, really.
No.
You know what I mean? It would be more of kind of what they have. If they're going defense, and I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against them going after somebody like Theodore. His number is good too, 5.2 million. Again, he has term, so it's not anybody that you're going to lose for the next few seasons. So in that aspect, it's good. I don't know. There's just other guys on our list that we're going to be talking about, defensemen, that I just like more for some reason.
I will say right now, 32 points for Shea Theodore as we sit.
Yeah,
So
that's good. In
that's
45 games, that is very good for a defenseman. All right, let's hear from Built Bar, and then we'll get into obviously some more players. So right now, Built Bar, it is the best tasting protein bar on the market. Maybe your New Year's resolution has gone up in smoke, but you can always get back on that horse to eat healthy and make Built Bar a part of that. And have you tried the Built Bar Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best tasting protein bars on the market. That is a marshmallow infused protein bar. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they don't taste like
a chemical spill.
That's right. They are a amazing new protein bar from Built Bar, and they are also covered in 100% chocolate. Who doesn't want marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate? That's healthy for you. Get out of here. So they're low calorie, high protein, and you can replace your candy bar with these. They are better tasting than your typical candy bar, which can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories per bar, where Built Bars are 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein, compared to your average candy bar, which is 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and all of those dozens and dozens of net carbs. So go over to built.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. Once again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right. So why don't we do, because we were just talking about defensemen and who maybe I would want more over Shea Theodore. The guy that's on the market and he's on the team that just seems to be selling everybody, and that is Jakob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes. This is a guy that, in my opinion, I would be jumping at if I were the Colorado Avalanche. His number is fantastic at 4.6 million. After this year, you have that for another 3 years. And you don't know. You have to keep in mind what is going on or what is not going on with Bo Byram.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just the business side of things. You want him to get healthy and live a healthy life. And if he's a part of your program for years to come, then great. But you kind of have to protect yourself on the back end if he's not, because that's a very serious thing he's dealing with. And man, would you not shore that up if he doesn't ever play again, which is okay if he doesn't, by getting someone like Jakob Chychrun at least for a few years? Because after this contract is up for him, you're likely going to be doubling his contract, in my opinion. So I think you can, get some more defensemen. And you know what, man, like Curtis McDermott is improving, but he's not a long-term answer. Like, let's get real here. Like he's fun to talk about and he's fun to watch because he'll throw down with anybody, but he's still giving you 6-7 minutes a night, 8 minutes a night. I don't, that's not a long-term solution for me. Give me someone like Jakob Chychrun. He's not going to replace what McDermott can do in terms of the fighting, but in terms of a sheer talent, that is someone that you can put out on the ice and make this team even better.
Yeah. And you know what Chychrun's upside is. You've seen it countless times when the Avalanche have gone toe-to-toe with Arizona. The thing about Chychrun, though, I feel like it's a gamble. Do we want to do a mid-season Nichushkin rejuvenation for Chychrun? He's sitting on 11 points. And the reason I brought up Theodore earlier, the same amount of term, $1.5 million more than Chychrun, 21 more points. So
for who'd you compare it to?
For Theodore.
Oh, then Theodore. Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
same amount of term, $1.5 million more, 21 more points. So, if you're getting Chychrun, is the defense hurting you that bad where you feel like this is going to be a little kind of a rehab project? Like, get him in, get him acclimated. That's going to be a couple weeks to. I mean, you're skating with Cale Makar. That's got to be a little intimidating. Come from Arizona, who's about to be playing in a college arena. It's
right.
Do you really want to do that in the thick of things when the season's coming close to the end and playoff time? Do you really want to make that move? Term and the money looks great, but we got to look at the player we're getting as well.
Yeah, I mean, for Theodore, he's consistent, if nothing else. Just going through points since he's been in Vegas. So 29, which is his lowest, and then 37, 46, 42 in last year in 53 games, and then 32. Yeah, that is what it is. That is solid production.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a guy playing on a good team. And what can Jacob Chychrun do on a team like Colorado? Man, I'll save the $1.5 million. And what's he, 4 years younger than him? So Chychrun's 23. Theodore is 26, so 3 years younger than him. There's no wrong answer there. I think both of those guys would be good on the defensive end. Number one, I don't think Theodore is going to be available, but obviously Chychrun is. I don't know, man. I think him on an Avalanche team is dangerous.
The only reason I bring that up is when it comes to the trade deadline, what we talked about possibly Compher or Jost, are they worth trading for a question? A what if? Does he fit? Will he acclimate his game with a better team? Are those two players you're not getting them back? Like once they're gone, they're gone. Is it worth a what if situation?
I mean, me, yeah.
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
It is. For me, it is. And if let's see, again, going back to JT Compher and Tyson Jost, Compher carries a 3.5 million hit and Jost is at 2 million. So you could figure out the money where, getting Chychrun in would work for you.
Yeah.
It's not, especially for Compher. It could work. It could work. And the thing is, I'm not hearing it a lot. I'm not hearing Chychrun to the Avalanche at all.
Yeah.
So, and it could be he doesn't go anywhere because he still has term. You know what I mean? He still has a few years left. Will he get dealt? Maybe by the end of that contract, he does. But I don't think, the Arizona's not in any rush to move him because they have about 1 million draft picks next season. So they don't need to add more to it. And they got him for a few more years. So why not wait, see what it looks like in another year or two, and then maybe deal him if things aren't improving by then.
Because term is very valuable. So
huge. Yep. Let's stay with the same team. Mr. Phil Kessel. He seems to be, dangled out there all the time. And this year is no different. Another guy I don't really see the Avalanche going after. We all know the body type of Mr. Phil Kessel. I don't think he fits in with this team. You can put him on a depth line if you wanted to. And he's a hard worker. Don't get me wrong. He figures out ways to score. And he's a beast of a player. He knows how to play hockey. And that's what you want. You maybe want a veteran presence. That's why they would bring him in. I don't think he can keep up with this team.
That's a fantastic point. And skating around in Ball Arena a mile high, I don't know if Phil Kessel could do that night in and night out. And with the speed of Nathan McKinnon and the rest of the members of the Avalanche, it would be. It's everybody's it would be cool to have Kessel in an Avalanche sweater. But this move feels more like a Tampa Bay, or a Florida, one more piece. The same reason for the Avalanche, one more piece to push us all the way through. It's somebody else other than Colorado, because I think he'll fit with one of the slower teams like Florida. Him and Joe Thornton.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh, wow. That could be the greatest line in hockey if that ever happened. that would be a fun line to watch. But, for this year, 48 games played, 6 goals, 28 assists. So the goal scoring isn't there. But I don't know. I just what's his cap number too? I got it up here.
6.8.
No, I am not touching that. I'm sorry.
Nope.
And you always say the guys that you're be getting rid of. Again, Compher and Jost are the ones that we're throwing out there. I know Kessel has way more points than Tyson Jost.
Yeah.
And Phil and JT Compher. Maybe for Compher or for Jost, I'm sorry. Maybe for Jost, sure, but for Compher, I don't know. I would take the comfortability level of JT Compher and what he could potentially do in the playoffs than over Phil Kessel, who I don't think he's a good fit with his style of play for the Avalanche. I wouldn't do that.
It's a expensive question mark.
Definitely. Let's move on over to the name that seems to be hot right now with Avalanche circles, simply because it was discussed on TNT during their Vegas game, and that's JT Miller of Vancouver. I think this is another guy that's kind of in the Hertl situation. I don't think they move him. I think they dangled him out there to see what the feedback would be, and people would want him. Don't get me wrong. People would absolutely want JT Miller. I think he would fit very well in Colorado. But in the end, I think this was smoke and mirrors. And I think I just get a gut feeling that JT Miller's not going anywhere for Vancouver.
You would think that. I would like that. But especially after you hear the rumors that everybody's kicking the tires on Brock Besser. So that must be the piece that they're floating out there, and JT Miller's hanging behind. So that makes sense, because why would you let go of JT Miller? I think he's incredible for the price and his point production. Yeah. I think he would be a slam dunk for the Avalanche, which is why Vancouver is probably going to hold on to him.
And the thing with Miller is you have another year on him. It's not like he's an unrestricted. So he's 5.25 for the remainder of this year, which will be less, obviously, at the trade deadline. But for next year, you'd be paying 5.25. That's a good number for him. It's a very good number. And, production, 47 games played, 17 goals, 31 assists. That totals 48 points. That's more than a point per game.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he would be good. I don't know. I think Vancouver is kind of going to stand pat for the most part, because things just went south for them quick at the beginning of the year. And then they made the coaching change and things have improved a little bit. I think they just want to keep their skill players and then give it another run next year. And because Miller has another year, I think they do that. Yeah. And then if again next year it's a carbon copy of what this year is, where they're just kind of middle of the pack, then they'll unload him. But I think it's too premature to do it this year.
Yeah.
So maybe we're talking about him next year, for an Avalanche trade. We'll see.
I will get the jersey.
Would you immediately?
Immediately.
That's a day one purchase for you.
Yep.
Dude, I'm getting closer to getting a Darcy Kempfer jersey.
Really? Yeah.
After that shutout, I'm like, they're signing him. He's coming back.
Yeah.
So I'm getting closer. Let's hear from Bet Online, and then we got a few more to get to, obviously. So football season obviously is complete, but you have the basketball season, obviously the hockey season. They are in full steam ahead mode. And then for basketball, you can get pro and college hoops over at betonline.net. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. And it isn't just basketball. Betonline.net is your source for, like I said earlier, the NHL, boxing, and UFC odds, right down to the Olympic Games. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device and sign up and learn more about the trends and all of the action going on around the league. So betonline.net, it is where the game starts. All right, few more to get here. So let's go with Jake DeBrusk. And DeBrusk is another one who seems to have been on the trade wire for a few months now. And nothing's happened. I thought he didn't seem too happy in Boston. He probably still isn't happy. And I thought something was going to happen with him relatively quickly, and it didn't. And he's kind of, he's still in the lineup, and he's a solid winger. The numbers don't show it. 42 games played, 7 goals, 8 assists for 15 points. You look at that and you're like, that's ugly. But he wasn't healthy for a lot of the season. I think this trade talk has taken a big toll on him. He's a solid player.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if the Avs go after him. Let me see what his cap number is. 3.65. So it's a good number, and he's a restricted free agent after this year too. So you're inheriting that as well.
It's one of those that if you're vocal about wanting to be traded and you're sitting there forever not being traded, and then your numbers look like this because you're not being traded, it kind of feeds on itself. You're not going anywhere. Boston has a problem with Jake DeBrusk. And it's one of those like Kadri knows that this year is a contract year, so he's overperforming. That's what you want to see. Also, if you want to be traded, perform and make people want you. And if you're going to pout because you're not leaving Boston, don't come to Colorado.
Yeah, that's so it's like an attitude adjustment type of
Yep.
thing. Like, because what's he got in previous seasons? He started off hot with Boston in 17-18, 43 points, and then it's gone down since then. 42, 35, 14, and 15 this year. I don't know. I think I stay away from him. The production, it's night and day. It has just gone down, and maybe for him, he feels like a new city could just reinvigorate his career. Maybe that's true, but I'm not in the position to take that risk if I'm the Colorado Avalanche.
That's what Seattle's for.
Wonderful segue, my friend. I don't even think you realize the next one on the list here, Marc Giordano of the Seattle Kraken. And it's so funny because even before they took him in the expansion draft, people were talking about this very thing happening. Mm-hmm. They would select Giordano in the expansion draft. He would become their first ever captain. And then if things weren't going well, which we knew that they weren't, they would trade him at the trade deadline. And it's like people were looking into a crystal ball because that is exactly what has happened, minus the getting traded part, which is going to happen. Marc Giordano is going to get traded at the trade deadline. Could he go back to Calgary? That's a very real possibility because Seattle will retain salary and it's not going to cost a lot to get him. Mid-round pick would be my guess to get Marc Giordano away. So you're bringing him in for veteran presence, and he's still, let me see what his 43 games played, 4 goals, 16 assists for 20 points. At 38 years old, defenseman, I think he would be a good fit for the Avs. Is this something they kick the tires on?
No, we don't need the defense getting any slower. Need I remind you, we have Jack Johnson, Ryan Murray, and EJ back there.
And that's what he's like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's like. So you're getting more of that. And that's the question. Do you want that?
No.
And his cap number is high. That's the thing. It's at 6.75. Seattle will retain some of that. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't completely shut the door on this. I don't see it happening. Trust me. I don't think it's going to happen. But the only reason I'm thinking this is because of what Sakic did last year.
Yeah.
With bringing in Soderberg. And it didn't work out. I think he wanted some of that veteran presence going into the postseason. Clearly didn't work out. Giordano's a different animal, but you have his skill set already on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I think they stay away. But it would, if they did it for whatever reason, I wouldn't hate it.
I would understand, but it's not where the defense needs to go.
What about Calvin DeHaan, who for the Chicago Blackhawks, that's a defensive a low pairing that you're not getting him for the offensive production. And again, you don't need that. He's got 4 points on the season, a goal and 3 assists. But he plays bigger than his stature, which is 6'1" and 195 pounds. He's on the market. I don't think he's going to be with Chicago. I'm pretty sure he has an expiring contract. Let me see.
Yes, he has a rental.
For $4.5 million. Again, it would be a depth move for the Avalanche, considering the defensive pairings that they have right now. I don't see this happening. This is kind of somebody that we threw in here just because his name is being dangled out there. But I don't think they have any real interest in DeHaan.
Especially like with all the names we listed already, 4 points for a rental. I mean, you just look at that and you're like, no, this is not what we need to do.
Well, you're more looking at him as like, can he improve your defense? You don't need him for the offense. Can he improve your defense? No, I think it would just be kind of, status quo if they brought him in. So
Yeah.
Two more to get to. We saved the best, or maybe the pointless for last.
Yeah.
But second to last, Ben Chiarot, Montreal Canadiens. I don't know if Montreal, again, this is kind of in the Hertl and Miller world. Should Montreal trade him? Yeah, probably, to get some assets and continue that rebuild. Do they? I don't know. I really don't know if they do. And this is kind of another D-man that we're talking about. Would this improve the Avalanche at all? Kind of in the same boat as the DeHaan for me.
Yeah, $3.5 million rental, 9 points. I mean, DeHaan and Chiarot are the same player right now.
Yeah, what's he got? 9. He's only got 9. Yeah, 5 goals, 4 assists. Yeah. And I don't see Montreal really giving a serious look at him. And I think like they're going to want too much for him for some reason. I don't know why, but I just feel like the asking price for him for whatever reason is going to be a little bit too high for the Avs. And that's not a big move for the Avs to make. Like, we're talking about them going after guys like Giroux. I would like to see them go after Chychrun, obviously, Hertl, and then Ben Chiarot, good player, but does he improve the team that much where you need to give up future? No, doesn't make any sense for me. And then last but not least, because we got to throw him in here, neither one of us think this is going to happen for many reasons, but Marc-Andre Fleury, another guy that he's probably going to get dealt. I don't think he's going to be with Chicago after the trade deadline. The Avs don't need him anymore. They've proven that their 2 goalies that they have are exactly what they wanted them to be. So maybe if the trade deadline was in November, maybe you do this, but there's no need for it right now. And on top of it, I think you're going to see a team like Edmonton way over, not I want to say overvalue Fleury, but over trade for him, if that's a term, and give Chicago like 10 first round picks for Marc-Andre Fleury because they have nothing in goal. So it's just going to be one of those things. Even if the Avalanche were interested, they would get outbid.
I feel like Pittsburgh would try and bring him back for his swan song, and this will be it.
Going to be a backup there.
Yeah. Just to have him back and, 2 goalie system, let him finish the season out. Everybody say their goodbyes. Marc-Andre Fleury retires.
I really liked what Tony said on the Vegas crossover that we did. Him going to the Rangers.
That would be nice.
And igniting with Gerard Gallant. And I mean, I that would be interesting.
Yeah. Revo's out there too.
Yeah. That's true. Yep. Because Georgiev is just not working out for them in New York. All right. That's like, I don't know, 8 guys, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 guys that we kind of went over. Do the Avs get any of them? So of those guys, who do you want personally? Because you want the jersey. You want the jersey. You want them on the Avs. Who do you want the Avs to trade for?
I've been advocating for Shea Theodore, but the likeliness of that happening is not there. If I had to, I really want JT Miller. Honestly, he would be there. He's exactly what you need.
Yeah. I wouldn't be against it. What was his cap number again? 5.25. You can make that work. You can make that work in a deal, and you get him for another year.
Yeah.
So not a bad choice for me. I really want Chychrun. I do.
Really?
I do, man. I think of all the guys on here. And then, again, this is outside of Claude Giroux. I would love Claude Giroux. I think both of us would.
For the record, Miller has 11 more points than Claude Giroux.
Oh, if you're telling me Miller or Giroux, I might go Miller myself.
Miller.
Absolutely.
Cheaper too.
But out of these guys right here, I just love the future of Jacob Chychrun, and to do it in an Avs sweater would just, oh my God, that defense would just be insane. It already is insane. So then the next question is, who will they get when we're all said and done? When the trade deadline comes around, even before then, I mean, any of these moves could be made tomorrow. including, and you can include Claude Giroux in this. Who do you think they actually do bring in?
Sakic's going to sit on his hands this trade deadline, and we're going to get Tomas Hertl.
Really?
Yeah, they're going
You
to
think
put
so?
him. They're going to put him on for just that veteran third line center, and
it could happen.
yeah,
And you know what? But it's all in what San Jose wants. And if you follow the show's social media page, it seems like the guys from Locked On Sharks think they want Alex Newhook. I told them, get out of here. They said, that's okay. We'll take Bowen Byram. And that's not going to happen either. Even despite his injuries, they're not going to get rid of Bowen Byram.
I think JT Comfort or Jost will like playing with Nieto again.
Yeah, right. On that penalty kill unit. It really could happen, but
Yeah.
would San Jose be asking too much? That remains to be seen. I have no problem giving up draft picks because if everything goes well, they're going to be late round draft picks. I'm fine with that. There are some prospects I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up Justin Barron. I don't want to give up Oscar Olafson. But will you have to do that? I hope not. I hope they don't do that. But again, you're in this to win a cup. And is Joe Sakic changing his thinking of, I might have to? And if you got to give up someone like that to get someone like Hertl for half a year and you win the cup, but that's the big question. It's not guaranteed.
No.
So it's a risk. It's a risk reward thing with the trade deadline. And the Avs are in a different position than they've ever been in a long time. So we're going to have to see how this thing pans out.
It's great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man. This is fun. This is fun stuff. I love this time of the year. So, all right, let us know what you guys think. And I would say Hertl outside of Drew. I think Drew is the front runner. It just seems that is too perfect of a matchup right now.
It's too loud.
Yes, exactly. That's a good phrase for it. Outside of that, I think I wouldn't be against Hertl. Could happen. So, but what do you guys think? Let us know on Twitter, on YouTube comments. I'm sure people on there can't wait to start commenting on that. Or send us an email, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. So moves could happen tomorrow, but we still got another month before the trade deadline is officially over. A month and then some, right? It's like March 23rd or something.
But these are names to keep an eye on.
Exactly. So, and there might be more as these days and a few more weeks go on. Some more might be coming out. So keep an eye, and maybe we'll do another one of these if there's been no moves in 3 weeks. So, all right, everybody, that will wrap it up for today and for this week. So thank you for tuning in for another week's worth of episodes. Avalanche hit the ice Saturday against the Buffalo Sabres. So we will be back on Monday to discuss all of that action. Sound good?
I love it.
Love it. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you guys on Monday.